What is freaking up? It's Eve, only Eve right now. So for the week prior to Halloween, we will do 2 separate episodes, a little bit shorter, talking about kind of all things Halloween. And mine specifically will be about Canadian urban legends. So if you don't know what an urban legend is, it's a story or like tale of a mythical creature leading to something about like paranormal activity. I specifically chose ones that are Canadian because we are Canadian. If I sound really awkward, it's because I'm currently filming by myself and I feel very weird. Please continue listening if you want to hear about Canadian urban legends, and let's get into it. Urban legends. In Canada, we have quite a few urban legends, but if you don't know what an urban legend is, it's basically like some sort of character that has evoked like a story. So one that's quite well known in the Okanagan is called the Ogopogo. If you've heard of the Loch Ness Monster, it's like kind of the same. It's like a bumpy water dragon type vibe. And it is an ill-defined lake bottom, which rises to the speculation about long-trapped dinosaur eggs released by the movements of Earth's crust. It goes back thousands of years to the interior Salish First Nations people who spoke, and please mind my pronunciation, Niaik, also known as the spirit of the lake. If you don't know, the Loch Ness Monster does come from Scotland, which there's kind of multiple sightings of the Ogopogo with no concrete evidence of a lake monster, but it's kind of like gone through quite a few, like lurking under the water. You can see his legs, not his legs, his humps behind his back, but it's kind of like a water snake. And there's like a statue by Okanagan Lake where you can like take pictures, and there's like kids there. I think there's also a statue underneath the water too that you can see. Don't know for sure. We'll have to look more into that, but that's like the pretty well-known one for the Okanagan is the Ogopogo. We were looking up like fun different urban legends, and there's one called Julie's Harbor, which is in Newfoundland and Labrador, and it was the urban legend was Julie's Harbor is kind of near Triton in Newfoundland and Labrador, and it's you can only like it's a secluded area where you can only go by like I think it's like boat, snowmobile, like very like which is like kind of odd because you can't like drive there, assuming because of the lake. And according to the tourism center, Julie's Harbor is named after a woman who drowned in what's known as Julie Harbor's Pond. Now, while you don't really know if that's like true or not and how she died, it's said that her spirit has been felt in the area ever since. Since then, the whole community has kind of been turned into a ghost town, and all that's left is a large graveyard full of headstones of entire families dating back to the 1800s. And the kind of creepy thing is when you go to Julie's Harbor, you can apparently hear sounds of children laughing despite being alone and hearing young voices calling from the woods. Though, like, there's only one single house left in Julie's Harbor. And it's a one-story even tells of appropriation seen floating through the walls with the single house left in Julie's Harbor. So I think you can technically rent it still, which would be kind of cool to like do one day maybe. And then the good old classic, the Sasquatch, also known as Bigfoot. It's very well known in the United States, Oregon, Wyoming, Montana, anything with like essentially large mountains. Is a large, hairy, humanoid creature believed to roam the forest. If you haven't heard about Bigfoot, I've heard like there's been a range of sizes, so between like 7 to 10 feet, super hairy, kind of brown, almost like Chewbacca. That's the kind of vibe that I get from some of these. And there's been reported sightings in BC, Alberta, and even the Yukon. You know, Sasquatches just want to be up the cold. Is described as a bipedal, meaning it walks on 2 feet, and measuring over 2 meters in height with a hairy primate-like build. Obviously, with different cultures and stuff, the Sasquatch is rooted in the indigenous legend, believed to be from a mispronunciation of the Salish word sakits, meaning wild man or hairy man. Well, there's been no scientific evidence that the Sasquatch exists. Scientists say that the body or a piece of the body is needed as proof. The many reportings and stories of sightings make the question, what's out there in the woods? Which I feel like with a lot of these urban legends, it's like the places that not a lot of people like to like go. So like the deep ocean versus like the spooky woods, like all of those like little knickknack areas that people haven't gone for a long time. The next one is the Screaming Tunnel, which is known as one of the most haunted areas in Ontario's Niagara region. Which, if you don't know where Ontario is and you're not from Canada, it's beside Quebec. And if you don't know where Quebec is, it's one of the largest, I think it's the largest province. It's the one that speaks French. Most well-known speaking French. And the Screaming Tunnel is a 125-foot-long brick tunnel located outside of Niagara Falls. The 12-foot-high tunnel, which is quite eerie looking as it comes, is the tale of a tragic incident. According to local legend, a young girl was killed and burned in the tunnel haunts the area of that day. The famous urban legend has inspired generations of teens to strike a match in the tunnel and wait for the ghost of the girl to blow it out. The act is supposed to be followed by an unearthly scream from the spirit, giving the tunnel its name. It was even turned into a movie called Warner Road in 2018. If you visit the tunnel, according to believers, and light a match, you hear the ghostly scream of the girl as the light goes out. If you're brave enough to make it that far, that is.
Thank you for tuning in. If you found value in what you heard today, oh wow, words are hard. Please consider sharing this podcast with your circle. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you're always the first to know about our latest episodes. Every Monday. Your support means the world to us. Until next time.
So I covered Julie's Harbor, Sasquatches, Ogopogo, and classic. Huh? You are married to a Sasquatch. He is a very hairy man. And the really cool thing is a lot of these come from indigenous legends.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like with the Sasquatch, I did one of them. I was like, my pronunciation is not the greatest, but they're kind of in places that like not a lot of people like to go super far. So like you think of a long tunnel, kind of creepy. Long hallway, kind of creepy. Depths of the ocean, kind of creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Dark forests in the dark, kind of creepy.
Oh my God, we were talking about that because we went down for Thanksgiving to the Lower Mainland, and in the area that we were, it's a very heavily like wooded area around where we grew up. And it was so funny because there was a house that was kind of like backset from the road. And it's just like this like very simple little like probably like 1950s like war home type thing. And it's got this like thick forest around it. And Ben turns and looks and he goes, oh my God, I could never fucking live in that house. And I was like, right? How many killers could be hiding around each one of those trees? He goes, right, that's like one that like Freddy would like pop his hand around, or like Michael Myers would be behind, or like Jason. And I was like, yeah, right?
And I feel like with some of them, that's usually like creature based.
Mm-hmm.
I quite like the ghost ships. So there's a flaming ghost ship in Atlantic Canada, specific PEI, that be perfectly positioned for tales of the supernatural with stories of haunted like houses and of course ghost ships. So the one tale tells of the ghost ship of Northumberland Strait, a phantom vessel often spotted at the Strait's Cumberland waters. It usually appears around dusk and like it kind of looks like it's engulfed in flames, kind of like Ghost Rider like vibes, like like bluey white flame.
Yeah.
In the tales, the phantom vessel is there one moment and gone the next. Car ferries and boats have gone out there to attempt to rescue the ship's crew, only to see the ship disappear before their eyes. The ghost ship continues to be spotted today, and there's many reports that Canada Post even featured it on a stamp.
I think I remember that stamp.
But with many sightings, people trying to rescue the ship's crew to no avail, the question remains, what's really out there? I just love that it's like so like you like look at them and you're like, oh, like Sasquatch not that scary. Ogopogo, meh. There's some really creepy ones a little bit later. It's called the Wendigo.
Oh.
And it kind of looks like the head of an antelope, like the skull of an antelope, and the bottom of a centaur.
Oh.
So if you live in Canada or the northern US, you're likely to hear of the Wendigo, a supernatural being that comes from the spiritual traditions of the Lenape-speaking First Nations, according to the Canadian Encyclopedia. The Wendigo or the Wendigo is a powerful man-eating creature. According to the Ojibwe People's Dictionary, the Wendigo translates to winter cannibal monster. The creature is described as nearly 10 feet, human-like, and depicted by an emancipated with a skeletal frame, ash-colored skin, and even old antlers, like horns.
I thought you were going antelope vibes, if you know what that is.
Antelope.
An antelope, which is adorable in my opinion.
Yeah. Legends tend to place them deep in the forest where it seems unseen. Wendigo's diet is seen to be featured as one thing: human bodies, especially children.
Oh.
The Wendigo is usually, but not always, endowed with powers such as human strength, stamina that allow it to stalk, overpower, and devour its victims. Oh, fun times. The Wendigo. I just feel like it should really be named something cooler than like...
It's probably a terrible translation from something that was originally,
But like, I don't know. I always think that they're kind of cool when you like look at it like into them and they're like, ooh, the urban legend.
I didn't know we had so many that were actually like Canadian, because I always think of like the atypical like urban legends that a lot of people think of.
Oh, like werewolves, vampires.
Yes. Saying names 3 times, but I won't say that one.
That's like, yeah. I feel like threes, they like depict on a lot of them. Anything religious.
Because you know that Lydia in Beetlejuice, in the cartoon, looked in a very specific mirror and said his name 3 times, and that's why he came. And I was like, now that when I was older and I learned about like the original like urban legend, I was like, that's weird, but that was probably on purpose because like Tim Burton's like that.
Yeah, like anything. I do enjoy like Tim Burton's movies.
Yeah.
With some of them, like his creepier vibe. But I feel like so many of them are like just random creatures that have, obviously, they're probably thousands, like they're legends. They're probably thousands of years old, probably taken from the First Nations legends that they have told over their years.
A lot of them come from like all different things too. Like I know there's ones that came from like Germany, like the Black Forest.
Loch Ness Monster, Scotland.
Yep.
Yeah, but like screaming tunnels. Let us know down below if you have any like interesting like ghost stories or like urban legends that are from your countries.
I know, because that would be super cool to learn, because like the standard ones that I can always think of are like the hook hand.
Yeah.
It's always like 2 people making out in a car at some lookout point that's in like Minnesota, the middle of freaking nowhere, and they're like, and then there was a hook found in the side after they heard a screeching noise. The vanishing hitchhikers.
Yeah.
Who just like come in and out, or you see them or they're in the car and then they're gone. Or just like, you know, any of like the ones where they like come knocking on the door. I mean, it is my worst nightmare when anybody knocks on my door, to be totally honest.
Oh, I hate when people knock on the door.
Especially if I don't know who they are. I'm like, I like immediately shrink and like go down to the ground. I don't want to answer the door. I should really get a Ring doorbell. I'm not going to lie. Because I don't even have a peephole. And then we have this like little window that's next to our door. And I put like the film because I was like, ew, what happens if somebody looks into my house? And I'm in my jammers and I don't want to answer the door.
I know. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like there's so many now that are like, they're like in 2016, there was the clowns.
Yeah.
The killer clowns. And like, I feel like
or Man. I know. Also, that Freddy Night at Freddy's. Why is that positioned for children? Super random, like parent rant.
But Five Nights at Freddy's?
Yeah, so they have kids' toys, and then they have a movie coming out, and the movie is based around it. And it's like, if anybody doesn't know what it is, it's if you've ever gone to like Chuck E. Cheese or like a lot of the places that have like the animatronic animals, or I always think the Possum Park, but a Goofy movie. But these ones are like possessed. And there's like this whole thing that happens with them. And I was like, why is this a children's thing? Also, random fact, the old Goosebump movies, not the old ones, but like the ones that had like Jack Black in them, they're like super like funny, cheesy, and like your kid can watch them. There's a new one that just came out and Justin's Long is in, and I feel like I watched the preview and I was just like, why did they take Goosebumps and literally make it like almost it? The promo for it is as creepy as Jeepers Creepers, and I was like, and the sad part is like when your kids see it and they're like, oh, there's new Goosebumps, and I was like, oh yeah, cool, and I looked at it and had to look her straight in the face and be like, I'm sorry, you're not watching that.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of urban legends that have not been talked about a lot, or there's like, obviously we just have the Canadian ones because we is Canadian.
Yeah.
But like tons of them in between that are like, oh, that's super cool. That's a different one. If we're forgetting any of them and you're like, no, this is like the coolest one.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, like please contact us on like Gmail or like Instagram DMs or like TikTok, like really any of our messaging platforms. We love to hear these things. Yeah, so that'll kind of finish it up for my section of urban legends. You can check out a little bit later in the week for Sarah's. But if you would like to send us over some messages regarding what your favorite urban legends are, or anything that you like stories or like things that you heard growing up from your culture, please feel free to send them over to our Instagram at Burnt Out Perfectionist, or our TikTok at Burnt Out Perfectionist Pod, or even on Pinterest. At heart, I will always be a Pinterest girl, but always stay where Pinterest is ever. Peace.